Welcome everyone to the Velero community meeting / open discussion. Today is Tuesday, September 8th. It is 12:02 p.m. here on the East Coast. Good morning to all you West Coasters. Hope you all had a lovely weekend. Some of us here in the U.S., of course, we had a long weekend with Labor Day yesterday. With that, we're gonna kick off with some status updates. Kalisia.
Hello. So I might be missing stuff because 4 days holiday. We are planning on doing a release candidate this week. So just a release containing everything that will go on 1.5, but not the final version just yet. So we can test and allow people to test too, if we are lucky. Of course, we want feedback. That'll be great. I am on community support. Nolan is on PTO this week. There's some PR reviews and some small things I'm working on. And also I'm working on the download request migration, the controller migration, and that's it for me.
Sounds good. Any questions, comments for Kalisia? I do have a question. So with the RC coming this week, we're targeting a release next week. Is that right?
That's the intention, yes.
And do we have a blog post
Yes.
draft for this?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Ashish wrote it. It's looking great.
Perfect. Sounds good. All right. Any other questions for Kalisia? Okay, moving on to Ashish.
For me, last week was mainly 1.5 testing, making sure we have all our ducks in the row. And then the other thing that I was working on, reviewing and testing Andrew's PR for restore hooks. Hopefully that should get merged today. I'm not sure if that's going to be part of the RC or not, but we'll try to get it merged today.
Is that the restore hooks PR that we discussed last week?
I am not remembering what we discussed last week. This is the exec restore hooks PR number 2804, if my memory serves me right.
Okay, sounds good. Can you please link that?
Yep.
Perfect.
So the idea with the RC is to have everything that will go on 1.5. So we either wait for the RC or we exclude it from 1.5. We'll have to figure it out.
Yeah, I think the reason why we pushed off doing the 1.5 release was there wasn't much time for us to run tests.
Yeah.
But that shouldn't mean we should be cramming in new things that in the pretext of running tests, we should not be adding new stuff.
Yeah. But there were two PRs that were marked for 1.5, and I'm not recalling if, I think this is one of them, right?
This may be one of them. I'm not sure. So yeah, I think we can discuss about this once we are done with the release, whether it made sense to push the release forward or not. But we can talk. That's a topic for some later time.
Okay.
right. Any other questions, comments for Ashish? Okay. Bridget.
So I've just added in that last week was mostly like a learning exercise for me. So I've been using the review process for the 1.5 release. It's just a way to help get more up to speed with the code base. I did just want to ask to Ashish and Kalisia, just with the 1.5 testing. This is my first time going through on the team going through a release process. So I was just wondering, we can discuss it later within the discussion topics, but how to get more involved with the testing and what kind of processes are happening there and how I can help out.
Sure. So we can talk about it now or later. It doesn't really matter. But for basically we don't have like a E2E test that we run. It's basically coming up with scenarios and making sure the changes, the new features are tested properly, and also there is no regression. So that's pretty much what we do. But I can share more afterwards or offline.
That would be great. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments for Bridget? All right, moving into discussion topics. Pong.
Hello. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so just a quick update. Last week, I think Nolan asked how my test for 1.5.beta code is going, and I have some update on that one. Is that I have now complete my integration of that code of that version 1.5.beta 1 to my code, and we have run through the smoke test, which including backup and restore, and also restore from previous version, and everything works. It's not working without a hitch. We have some problem like we go through, but most of it related to the fact that we have to update the Kubernetes client go to 0.18.4, and I think I remember Nolan and Ashish have helped me get over that hump, and it worked now. So that's number one. Number two, last week I have an action item to create the task or bug for the backing up thing in parallel. I have done that. I post my update on the action item as well. And so this week I come with another issue that I bumped into. So basically, when I do backup, app consistent backup, right? And then every time I want to do an app consistent backup for my application, let's just say MySQL, right? Then I have to quiesced that MySQL application. Then I run, then I would back up the PVC by creating snapshot of that PVC. It happened that we use Velero to do all of this. And the way we do is we specify Velero plugin to create the VMware snapshot. And the VMware snapshot, if it fails, it will retry. It will retry. And during that time, the whole application being quiesced is locked. It locked all of the customer operation, right? And that is not the behavior that we want, because if the application being blocked for, let's just say, more than 30 seconds, it will cause customer some, very bad, consequences, for example. So we want to have ability to specify a timeout for each of the plugin that we want. For example, if we want to, if I plug in a timeout for backing up PVC or PV, I just want to say, just have to get it done within 10 seconds or 5 seconds or whatever, right? If it doesn't executed during that time, we have to abort it. We have to release the customer from continue, with their operation, and we will try again later time. So that is something that I wonder if we already have something for that, or if not, we may maybe we have to consider request for enhancement for that. So that's my discussion topic.
Yeah, long term is probably a good idea. And we also have to think about that in terms of running parallel snapshots. Like how long do we wait for everybody to actually snapshot? Why? So the snapshots, the vSphere snapshots are actually crash consistent. And so so are you actually like flushing all the buffers and everything as part of your app quiesced, you know?
We do have to lock the user from stop. Like just for example, for MySQL, we don't want the user continuing creating more entry, right? And even though if you're doing backup on the PVC, many operations can continue going on in and right into memory. And if you do not have a quiesced, then there will be inconsistent between the memory and what actually in the persistent volume.
Well, that's kind of the point of crash consistency, right? Is that crash consistent backups are the equivalent of if the system crashed and restarted. And as long as you're on single volume, MySQL should be able to recover from system crash.
I have to think about it a little bit here.
Even if the volumes or the backups are crash consistent, they may not be application consistent, and that is what his hooks are trying to do, right?
Yeah,
so
that's the main thing.
Their hooks is like trying to pause the database or whatever application is writing to the database or performing create operations. They want that application to stop while the snapshot is happening. If the snapshot takes runs for a long time, then that means their application is blocked or stopped for a long time, and which is not desirable. And what Phuong is asking is having a timeout for this lock operation. And if the operation does timeout, and then we just call the unquiesced. I'll have to look at the code to see if that is what happens when we run into a timeout on the backup hooks, but I will have to check and get back to you on that.
Yeah, thank you. We actually use VMware plugin to do backup to do a snapshot for our PVC. We use FCD, we use VMware FCDs, and when we run FCD backup, I believe that if it fails, it will retry, and that is the dangerous thing, because the snapshot
does retry, but it really shouldn't be failing either.
Yeah, I actually don't know what's going on there, but it looks like it takes longer than expected. So snapshot usually take within the seconds or a few seconds, right?
Should be like milliseconds, really.
Yeah, something like that, right? And then if it takes longer than that, we're in trouble. Right. So,
right. Well, we need to take a look at the logs and stuff too, because the snapshot path there shouldn't be retrying. It does because there are some instances. There is a multi-access problem that showed up some issues, but in general, things should not need to retry. So maybe there's like something wrong with vCenter or the network connectivity.
Probably it's just more than just the snapshot fail. It's probably because the snapshot be actually being taken on the vSphere, not where we execute the PVC plugin. So it might be some network communication issue there, and so on and so forth. So I don't know for sure what's going on, but I know for sure that we experienced some problem with that. That it's been holding for a long time, and we don't want that behavior for our customer. Do you need me to create like a PR, or I mean like a story or something for that, or a bug for that, or to make it easier to keep track, or we can just continue talking on Slack about this one after you check it out?
I'd probably create 2 PRs. One would be, for snapshots failing, and we can try to track down exactly why the snapshots are retrying. And then the general timeout is a good idea, and that's like a separate thing, I would say.
Yep,
Thank you.
I would agree.
Okay,
You can create the failure two issues, the snapshot failure issue in the vSphere plugin repo, and the run the unquiesced if there's a timeout in the Velero repo.
Okay, thank you. I will take appropriate action. I will do 2. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
That's all for my side.
Awesome, thank you. Does anyone else have any discussion topics that they would like to add in for the meeting today?
I don't know if I really have a topic. I just want to say hi. My name's Chris. Just joining in, first time seeing one of these meetups. Just started using this product and kind of wanted to see how this all went. And almost done actually implementing this for a very large cluster for a client. Just running into pod affinity issues. If you guys have seen those things where maybe I'm just not using Kubernetes in the right way, where I'm having dynamically created volumes that are the snapshots and everything's great, but then when I'm doing restores, the pod affinity, we're using the label, the Kubernetes label gets applied to it where it's saying, hey, you're in this region. So the pod affinity for that volume is saying, let's say North Central US. And then when I try to restore it in South Central US, it's saying, hey, we're having volume pod affinity issues because you are saying during the restore, it's grabbing the persistent volume and saying, hey, you have to be within North Central US. You cannot be in a South Central US region. And then when it tries to restore that volume, that disk to that specific volume, it's failing. I can't get the thing to restore ever in a different region. So I don't know if that's a specific thing specified within Velero that I'm missing, or if it's something I've missed within my cluster setup. Because I feel like this should be supported where, I'm doing disaster recovery. I'm in a different region than I'm essentially failing over from. I don't know if you guys have seen that before, if that's been something that's been brought up, or if that's more specific to the cluster setup within Azure versus a Velero setup.
So I'm not sure if the snapshots are cross regions. I get confused between regions and zones.
Yeah, so it's region. It's not specifically zone. It's not really a snapshot. I'm able to bring the snapshot over. So I have 2 clusters, a cluster in South Central and one in North Central. The North Central is the main cluster, and that's where all the volumes get generated. I'm using Helm to generate Mongo and Elastic, and using my own storage class. That's a premium, storage class within Azure. And there are limitations within Azure and AWS. You can't create a snapshot outside of your region. But the problem is it's restoring the snapshot in the correct region, but then it's restoring from essentially the backup of the cluster. And within that, the volume, within the specifications within the volume that's being restored, there's a pod affinity section that says, okay, it has to have this specific selector within it, and that's the North Central region, and that's coming from the label, the label within the pod, and the node, and the node will have a label of South Central US in it. So when it tries to associate the volume back to all my data nodes within Mongo, it says I can't associate this volume the backup volume that's been generated from the restore. I can't associate it with this volume claim, because this volume claim says it has to live within North Central. And I threw an issue out there on Git, and I hope that's not a bad spot to put that. I don't know if I've set something up incorrectly, but it's the most recent one that's out there. And I don't know if you guys have seen that, or if there's something built in for Velero to be like, okay, I'm moving regions. I have a pod affinity set in place within this volume claim.
Is that okay? Hey, Chris, is that okay if we could, so you say you have an issue open?
I do have an issue open.
Is that okay if we take it up on that issue? And
Yeah, sure.
If
Absolutely.
unless it's a discussion topic
We planned.
For the community.
Yeah, everyone's gonna be like, what are you talking about?
No, yeah, we'll do it there. And because if we don't have any more discussion topics, then we can let everybody go.
Yeah, I definitely want to keep people on. But yeah, I hopefully I'm not doing something that I have something configured wrong and everything's actually working as expected. That's my one concern. So that's why I was going to throw that out there. But yeah, we can take it up on the issue.
I remember seeing something like this a few weeks ago as well. But I'll take a look at the issue that you created.
Okay, that'd be great. And yeah, I'm definitely monitoring it, and I can take time out of my day and sit down and go through it. I'm about to the point where I'm just going to start going through the code if it's within Velero or if it's within my system, because I've been trying to jam this thing through for a while. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that.
I'm super happy to hear that you're planning to use Velero in a large cluster. We would love to, if possible, later on. So we, I don't know if you know this, but we do have an adopters file within the Velero repository. So if you check out the Velero repository, we have an adopters.md file, where companies and organizations that use Velero or build upon Velero have added their information, and we would love to showcase anyone that uses Velero in production.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, we have about 255 pods, and I think about 5. We'll have 40 volumes or so we're backing up and restoring and having within our DR plan using Velero, because Azure is terrible at supporting managed disks.
That's really cool. But yeah, once things are figured out, once we have it up and running,
this close.
Yeah, this close. We would love to have you be featured in there too.
Great, thank you.
All right, awesome. Next up, we have contributor shoutouts. Kalisia, did you add these in here?
Yes, I did. So we have, thank you for opening that. Yeah, so this is an output formatting issue that we had. So this was made better. Potentially this will be going in the 1.5 release too. Next. Yeah, so this one is pretty much what it says there. If on a restore, if the snapshot, the volume snapshot has modified the PV name, rename the PV. I looked through I don't remember anything. But yeah, that. Thank you so much for. Wait, that was Ashish?
Ashish merged it. Yes.
Oh, right. Okay.
I merged it. Yeah.
The GitHub UI keeps changing. All right.
It's a little confusing.
Just double checking if the script we have is picking up the right things. Yeah, in this one is on the Helm charts repository. It's just to allow people to get secrets through pulling an image. Thank you, every one of you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Armin, Pavan, and Jenteng. And with that, we're closing out today's meeting. Thank you all for joining, and see you all next week. Have a good one, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Everyone.